a lot of people are commenting about a lot of the success or results they're having on a carnivore diet. And I even mentioned in one of my videos, show me somebody who's been doing this a long time. And somebody said, oh, I know people that have been doing it 5 to 10 years. I even know a lady who's in her 80s who's been doing this for even longer than that. No, she hasn't been eating a carnivore diet for longer than 10, 15, 20 years. And I find it very hard to believe if anyone's been doing this for 5 years or even longer. A carnivore diet is a diet that's, or at least when I'm talking about a carnivore diet, I'm saying a diet that is excluded in anything else but meat, some form of animal meat. That's it. And believe it or not, there are some people out there that are eating that way. And it's what is called today a carnivore diet. It's not just a high protein, high fat diet that might have other things in it other than animal meat. But no, strictly carnivore diet means my diet, I'm eating animals, nothing else. And even a keto diet that might consider some other forms of protein or other forms of fat with that maybe come from an animal, but they're not an animal, it's still not healthy in the long run. And this is why nobody's been doing this for a long time. And I don't recommend people do this for a long time, because if you do, you're going to end up sick. And this is why I'm making the video. You know, somebody said, oh, that's vegan propaganda. No, I'm not propaganda nothing. It's not about propaganda. It's about, look, it's not healthy to do in the long run. And even in the short run, just because you see some results doesn't mean that it's necessarily the best thing for you. And a lot of people, when they base the results, this is the real problem, is they base it on how they feel. Oh, I feel better, so it must be working. You know, I feel better, so it must be working. You know, I know a lot of people that feel great because of stimulation, but it's not necessarily the best thing for them. People that drink coffee feel better, so does that mean coffee's good? Or people that smoke crack feel great while they're smoking it. Does that mean it's good for them? We can't just go by how we feel. We got to look at the long run. And then some people say, well, I tried a vegan diet, but it didn't work for me, or it wasn't working. And most of the people, to be honest with you, most of the people I know eating a vegan diet are eating a terrible diet because they're eating processed junk food. It just doesn't have any animals in it, so they're called vegan. That's not healthy either. And you know what? Regardless of what you eat, the answer is what you leave out. If you're leaving out the things that are really creating the problem, and overeating is one of those things. So if you're overeating on fruits and vegetables, or if you're overeating on animals, it's still overeating. And they're going to have their downside to that, because overeating is a tremendous problem. But, you know, the key is what you leave out, and you leave out the processed food. So eating a vegan diet, but eating processed food in that diet is not healthy and not good in the long run or the short run. And eating exclusively animals is not healthy, not wise, and not biblical. But, you know, there's a lot of jumping on bandwagons out there. And, you know, people today are so overweight they can't even jump. But the ones that can, they're jumping on the bandwagon of what the popular thing is. And some people say, I don't know what I'm talking about. Show me the person that's been doing this long term. I know people that have been eating a raw vegan diet long term that are doing pretty well. I know people that are not overeating in the world. Some of them aren't vegan, some of them are. They're doing okay. I know people that eat different ways that I recommend in terms of their food choices, and they're doing okay. But all those people had something in common. It's not what they're eating or what they're adding to the diet, it's what they're leaving out. They're leaving out the processed food. They're not eating late at night. They're not, undersleeping. They're not doing stimulants. They're keeping it simple, eating the food as fresh as possible. This is why you hear stories about people that live in these faraway islands, and they lived to a nice old age. They weren't eating the processed junk food and all this stuff. And all of the races and people around the world that ate a high fat, high protein diet had a very short life expectancy or lifespan. They didn't live a long time. Only people that ate minimalizing their food and didn't eat a lot of processed food, and the majority of their diet was some form of vegetable or fruit. Back in the day, you weren't going to be eating some form of meat every single day. It just wasn't realistic to do that. People always grew vegetables or grew fruits, and some people say, well, those type of vegetables weren't around back then. Broccoli just happened in the last couple of centuries. It wasn't around back then. Tomatoes were around back, but all these different things were hybridized today and everything else. No, I mean, there's this. God put a tree in the garden, a fruit tree, right in the garden. Jesus spoke to the fig tree. So these things were around for a long time. If you choose to get the ones that weren't around, pluot or some other kind of Frankenstein food, that's your choice. But a lot of these foods have been around for a long time. You just gotta make a wise choice when you're eating your food. Uh, Regardless, if I don't necessarily recommend everyone go on a 100% raw vegan diet. I have my own personal reasons for doing it because of overcoming an illness and so on. But some people might just want to eat a, a diet and add some fruits and vegetables to it. But you must cut out the processed food, not eat late at night, don't overeat, and you're going to do pretty well. The more you start processing your food, the more you run into a problem. Even if somebody decides to have some animal meat in their diet, well, if they're following all these other things that I talk about often, they're going to be okay. But the whole thing about the carnivore diet, and when I was talking about when somebody says we could live exclusively on eating animals and nothing else, and I don't find that healthy in the long run, and I definitely don't think people have been successful at it in the long run. Because nobody's tried it long. Everyone stops doing it in the long run. Even the high advocates of it, Dr. Paul Saladino, I think his name is, he tried it for just a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, big promoter of it, and then decided to add some carbs back to his diet, some honey and some other fruit, maybe some berries, which is a very wise thing and realistic thing. All right, everybody, put your comments and questions below, and hopefully you're getting this, you're understanding this, and you'll get the true meaning of what I said about the carnivore diet is not biblical. It doesn't mean that in the Bible they didn't eat animals. It doesn't mean our Creator didn't say you can't eat animals. And it certainly doesn't mean that, it's a sin if you're eating animals. What it does mean is the food for man in the Bible was fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. It says it in the scripture, actually, fruits and vegetables. It says those were the food for man. And later on, meat was added. So if somebody's going to eat only meat and not eat the fruits and vegetables, it's not really a biblical way to do it. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and great world life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.